It's the Brad and John Show.
And this is the C block, the Charlie block. And today's date is June 2nd. It is a Monday, TGIM. Lots of stuff talking about, John. Anything you want to talk about? Anything that comes to your mind before I go into my little list here?
Oh, no. You know what? I was hoping you could fill us in on KDHX and other local radio minutia.
Okay. Before I get to that, you're going to not believe me when I say this. Okay. J.P. Morgan. You know Jamie Dimon. You're a financial guy. You know who Jamie Dimon is, right?
Yeah. One-time rumored presidential candidate Jamie Dimon. What's he up to?
He was in the Reagan National Economic Forum in California last week. Matter of fact, Friday, he was on the Reagan National Economic Forum in California. And you know what J.P. Morgan says? The head of J.P. Morgan, Jamie Dimon?
What do they? I mean, they're a company. So what does Jamie have to say?
The United States should stockpile guns, ammunition, and drones instead of Bitcoin. That's what.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So what's his point there?
He says, we shouldn't be stockpiling Bitcoins, Dimon said when asked about how industrial policy is entwined with national security policies during a panel. We should be stockpiling guns, bullets, tanks, planes, drones, rare earths. We need to know to do it. It's not a mystery. And he talks about we should be stockpiling bullets. Like, the military guys tell you, if there's a war in South China Sea, we have missiles for 7 days. Okay, come on. I mean, we can't say that with a straight face and think that's okay. So what? So now you know what to do. We just got to go about doing it. Get the people together, roll up your sleeves, have the debates. He's right on the target. And you know what part of the problem is? You know why we're very low on ammunition and missiles and things like that?
Why is that?
Because we're sending it to Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's number one. Okay, I'm going to go through a bunch of them here. Okay, that's one of them. Also, last week, you made fun of the fact that I was sitting in the parking lot eating my Hudsonville ice cream because I originally intended to have a McFlurry, which I've never had a McFlurry in my life, when I had sort of a frustrating day last week. And at 9 o'clock at night, I decided I'm going to go get a McFlurry and went to my local Mickey D's. And, of course, the ice cream machine was broken. So I went to my local Schnucks and bought a 44-ounce tub of cookie dough brownie ice cream and sat in the parking lot and ate it. And not once, and not twice, but thrice, panhandlers came up to me and were trying to get money out of me, which I didn't have any money because I literally had no cash.
And you entertained them. You actually acknowledged them instead of doing the safe thing and driving away.
A listener sent me an interesting text, and her point was that she always gives money to panhandlers. And in her younger years, she's up there in years now, but when her kids were younger, she would tell them, you never know when Jesus might be testing you.
Oh, that's nice, Brad.
The guy who comes up to you and is panhandling you could be the man upstairs. And if you are truly a Christian, you're helping those people. If you're a heathen like John, you're rolling up your window. I don't want to talk to you. I've got to go home, right?
Yeah, and I, of course, wouldn't be sitting in a parking lot gorging myself. I have self-control, and I also am not addicted to dopamine. So I wouldn't do a task, reward myself with empty calories and junk food, gorge myself with ice cream, and then be wasteful and throw the remaining third away. You're exactly right, Brad. I wouldn't be in that place in the beginning.
The remaining 2/3 away. I only ate about a third of it, John. So I did throw the 2/3 of it away.
There you go. Well, that's a nice comment from a listener, Brad. But now, did they listen to? Are you still paying the domain for GodSquad.cloud?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. You haven't given up on that yet?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Brad, when people go there, they can hear generic McRadio. And then they can also, is the reason that you're able to use this as a write-off, you pay for it, and then are people supposed to send donations, or what's the call to action there?
Yeah, I've gotten $10 so far.
Have you really?
Yeah, I got $10.
Oh, that pays for the domain, right?
for a while. No, it pays for half the domain. The .clouds are like $20 now or something like that. Okay, which leads us to our radio segment of the show. The C block, the Charlie block. Two things. KLIS came on the air yesterday, and John was listening. John, your critique so far?
Oh, it's awesome. So I listened to Vic when he went on this morning at 6 a.m., and they have you can watch the show live, and you can watch Vic and his producer, Pro Joe, do it live. Brad, they're also looking for a morning co-host from 6 to 8 a.m. Do you know anybody who's wanted for a long time to work for an actual professional radio operation? If so, Send them the way of KLIS. Anyway, you can watch their show live, and then they have a live stream chat that you can join in. Yeah, it's awesome.
I wish them the well. I did try to buy that station in full, and I did deal with Dave Green, who's now the owner of the station. He just bought it himself. He tried to sell it, just decided he's just going to keep it himself. I hope they do well. The downside they have is they're on AM, and although the old KFNS, KLIS now has a decent signal, the problem they have, and I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say this, the audio quality just sucks. And for some crazy reason, KFNS 590 has never, even to the point where I had a discussion with a radio guy out of the market. He used to work, big time dude here in town, and he even said, they've always had problems with their audio. And I'm going like, you're right. It's not only not the best sounding audio in AM, but it's not. When there's a thing in radio when you're scanning the dial and you hear most of the stations are the same loudness, and you come across one that's not as loud, you go, oh, that's not as good a station, because your mind tells you that if it's not as loud as the other station, it's not as good.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the problem they have. And I wish them well. But I listened last night, and I don't know if what they were doing, but man, the audio quality was not good at all. Worse than it normally is. So I don't know, maybe I was listening to something, a pre-canned show or something like that they had
Or maybe like if they're just taking things over, right? Like it's early on, they're going to be working out some of the kinks. Not everybody was probably there during the KFNS era. And from what I read, Brad, quickly, is that Dave Green has said too that unlike a lot of radio operators, Dave is taking the multimedia segment of it seriously. So yes, you have an AM station, but Dave actually cares about building a social media following. He has Sports Hub STL, which he's built into a machine over the last couple years. So he knows that radio isn't just a linear broadcast where everything is forgotten. He actually wants to build a community. He actually wants to have social media sites. I think it's clear that he's willing to actually invest resources in these things. So if you're working there, you're working at a station where the owner takes those things seriously and doesn't just consider them a radio signal, but it's much more than that.
John, you're preaching to the choir. I wish the guy well, and I'm the guy, as the tide rises, so do all boats. I hope they kick butt. I hope they become insanely successful. I hope they challenge Camo X and 97.1 and Tracy's station and the Refugee station. I hope they kick butt. I really do. And I'm not saying that, I really hope they lose their butt. I hope they kick butt. Okay.
And they have a brother station that Dave Green announced yesterday.
What's the brother station?
93.1, based out of, that they broadcast in the Westplex. He was talking about Kevy Kev, and 93.1 will be their unofficial brother station, Brad.
Why is that?
Because I think they're innovative. They're doing cool things. Dave talked about the relationship he has with those folks there. And he said that, I guess Dave talked about it publicly, so I don't think it's a secret. But Dave said he might be hosting a show on, and that's a great station, KBDZ out of Perryville, that you can also listen to in the Westplex. And Dave might end up, I think after the launch goes well for KLIS, Dave might end up hosting his own show on that classic rock station.
What kind of show is he going to do? I mean, it's not a talk station.
Brett, you could go back and listen to some of the transcript.
Okay.
He talked about it this morning. They had a replay, I think, from yesterday that was played this morning. I started listening. I woke up and I was so excited to listen to a fresh, innovative station that I put it on as soon as I woke up at 5, and Dave Green was talking about that.
As opposed to our stale, uninnovative stations, right, John?
No, we just run 1 hour of local radio originally a day, right?
The other day, and changing subject, I'm going to drop off a radio for a minute. I just saw this article, and I really want to talk about this. I heard a reporter, and I can't quote her name because I didn't take it down, and I'm bad at names. You know that, John, because I'm an old guy. Matter of fact, you know what Wednesday is for me?
It's your kayfabe birthday, right?
I turned 90 on Wednesday.
Yeah. We should have a fake birthday party for your fake birthday.
I turned 90 on Wednesday. Okay. The lady was talking about, and this is real shoe leather journalism. If you know what's going on, that the Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are reopening the White House cocaine deal. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the investigation, right?
Okay. And what's really interesting, if you remember, where was the cocaine found, John? Do you remember the story that came out in the press? Where was the cocaine found?
It was at some kind of wasn't it like a visitation room or like a place where you have the public come in, right?
Right, but there was like a little thing, like a little cubby kind of thing, almost like
yeah, like a little cubby, like a pantry type area.
Right, where you put your stuff, like almost like grade school where you put
like a coat closet.
Right, like that kind of thing. Okay. She did a Freedom of Information response, a request, because she heard that's not where the cocaine was actually found. She got the report from, I guess would be the Washington, D.C. Fire Department and the crazy thing, you go, why was the fire department called? Because the powder was originally found in another part of the White House, and they thought it was anthrax. So they called the D.C. Fire Department to come in and essentially take the stuff and do something with it. And what's interesting about it is, you've probably seen this in some of the police shows. The police department, I guess the fire department has this well too. They have these tests they can run on various chemicals where they drop certain things into the chemicals.
Like some iodine. It looks like iodine, and then they're able to tell. It's like what police use at a roadside stop.
Right, and if it turns a certain color, it's something. And they tested it on the site, and the fire department says, "Oh, it's cocaine. It's not anthrax." And then it came out that the fire department says, and they found this in the cubby, and then it came out that the fire department quizzed them down and said, who has access to this? And then they say, well, it's not where we found it. We found it in another room, which was part of the private room of the White House that had limited access. Okay, once again, John, why is it that we have our government that doesn't tell us the truth? Why is it? Why is it do we have to have reporters who are actually doing their Camille Winter job, and finding out sources and not just getting the stuff that's spoon-fed to them by the administration? Why is it that we have to have so much stuff? And why is it that we now look back on the Biden years and think to myself, God, did the press get led around by the nose for 4 years or what? You know what I'm saying?
I think it's clear who didn't attend the Rachel Maddow speech over the weekend, Brad. If you did, you would probably know, I'm guessing, that it was worth protecting America from fascism and Donald Trump. So if you have to not report on a Biden getting lost in his closet or any other signs of cognitive decline or drugs in the White House, it's worth it to not pay that much attention and instead warn Americans of the dangers of fascism.
I guess you're right. Okay, last but not least, KDHX.
Did something happen with KDHX lately, Brad?
Friday was the auction. A quick recap, KDHX, which was totally mismanaged for several years, which was they kicked off all the volunteers. The station had a huge following, had a lot of volunteers there. The volunteers got a partial vote for the direction of the station through the not-for-profit board. They were kicked off the board. The station kept going down, 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 down due to missteps by the board, as alleged by the people that worked there. They finally declared bankruptcy. Now the story comes out, and actually it didn't come out because that was actually in supplemental news reports, that behind the scenes, the board, and I think that's headed by, I think the lady's name is Kelly Wells, isn't that the lady's name? The board was secretly negotiating with EMF, Educational Media Fund, aka KLove. And when they declared bankruptcy, amazingly, the KLove people showed up with what they call debtor in possession financing, which you have to have when you go into Chapter 11. Otherwise, you end up in Chapter 7, but that's a whole other story. And they were behind the scenes essentially saying, hey, we'll help you out. And you know what? We'll pay you $4.5 million for the station, even though you're only in bankruptcy for $2 million. And if you close real quick, if you get this deal done in a hurry, we'll pay you $4.8 million. So the judge, in bankruptcy court, then the local people, Gateway Creative Broadcasting, aka Joy 99 and Boost 95.5, come forward and say, hey, we'll pay more than that. We'll pay $5.3 million.
It sounds like a good deal for everybody. Okay, I'm tracking. I'm tracking with you.
The judge says, let's have an auction. The auction was Friday. And the winner was our local Gateway Creative Broadcasting, a.k.a. Joy 99 and Boost 95.5. And the winning bid, John, you already know the answer. The winning bid, John?
Yeah, I do want to know. What is it?
$8.75 million.
Nice. So everybody wins then, right? That's great news, right?
This is the biggest scam in the world, because what happens is They pay the creditors, and if you want to read the whole story, John, I tried to get John and to put me into the top
I'm
three.
never going to link to a blog that somebody updates once every couple of years. Like, I know, Brad, this isn't about me, but like, people have been trying to pitch me on one-off blogs for 23 years, and if some hobo puts together a blog once every 3 years, I'm not linking to the website. Go ahead, though, Brad.
Well, Hobo Brad has a website called Radio Poop, which has been around for 5 years, and it's been sort of dormant for a while. But
sort of dormant, yeah. You don't update it.
So it was actually gone for a while, John. It wasn't even online.
I believe
anymore.
it. Go ahead.
I had to buy the domain name back. It
Got
expired.
It. Go ahead.
Okay, so I put this blog up. You can take a look at it, radiopoop.com, because Brad, I'm the grand poopah, thanks to Mike Otten, a.k.a.
And what's the content,
Info,
Brad?
dude. The content is Brad talking about the radio business, okay? And what's interesting about this is I put this up, and I sent it to John, and John questions me, what are your sources? John, who has 2 journalism degrees?
Hey, I know. And specifically, Brad, so I read to the second paragraph and I saw that it was typical Brad stuff. So to be fair, I didn't read beyond the second paragraph. But the only thing I questioned is you said, it's been reported that. And then I said, well, that like, because I don't remember reading that there was a secret backroom deal. So I just said, where was this reported, or is this just libel?
John?
And you don't have a source for it, but it's been reported. It hasn't been reported in a news source.
Yeah, it has.
But in your mind,
no.
You think you've heard from other people that it's been reported.
Post-Dispatch and St. Louis Public Radio, because
I would believe then. Okay, then I would stand corrected. They've reported it.
Because they talked about the fact that there had been ongoing conversations with KLIS before the bankruptcy thing.
Oh, nice. And remind me, Brett, so in your narrative, somebody's always getting screwed over. It looks like debtors get paid, get made whole. It looks like, the folks that bought the station are clearly happy with the purchase price of it. So what's the downside of this?
It takes a community radio station and turns it into another God station. And
I see, okay. Which is Mick Radio, right?
Well, no, I mean, I compliment the Gateway. See, if you read the whole story, I compliment the Gateway creative people, the AKA Joy 99 and the Boost people, because they're local people doing local radio, but they've already have 2 formats of essentially God music, okay? And in my article said, what's next? Is it going to be heavy metal Christian, or is it going to be Christian polka? I mean, how many derivations of religious music can we have? I say the people that got screwed are the citizens of the city of St. Louis, the county, who have an alternative radio source, who now don't have that. And the problem on this is that because of, and I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, but I'm pretty sure this is the way it's going to go. The way the bankruptcy thing's going to go, the debtors are going to be, or the creditors are going to be taken care of 100%, which is highly unusual in any bankruptcy case.
That's awesome. Good for them. They deserve it.
And the board is going to get $6.75 million. And if you would have read my entire story, John.
I never will, but go ahead. Just summarize.
If you read the entire story, if you go to the KDHX site, they have, and I've got the link on there, which you didn't use. I've got the link to what their future plans are going to be, and it's gobbledygook. It's like, and it's trouble. It's trouble when, what word do they use in their description? Stakeholders. No, stakeholders.
Oh, nice. So let's reject common parlance that's been popular for the last 20 years. It sounds like everybody came out pretty well in the deal, Brad. And if people were such strong supporters of KDHX, they should have purchased advertising. They should have supported advertisers, and they didn't. And so we lost a rickety old station. And it's evolution, right? So out with the old and with the KLISs,
So the people that trashed the radio station now have $6.75 million if the deal closes in their bank account that they can do whatever they want with.
That's awesome. I bet they'll do some cool stuff, don't you think?
I think they'll be taking lots of trips to radio conferences in Maui.
Yeah, that's what professionals do, right? They don't sit around and complain. They actually find a way to make money and succeed.
Right, like they've done for so many years because they went into bankruptcy. Okay, think about that for a minute, John. And once again, any attorneys out there, any CPAs, tell me a case that has been settled where the creditors get 100% of what they were owed, and the people who trashed the business get a 7-figure payday. Tell me how many stories that is.
It sounds like there's finally a happy ending of bankruptcy cases.
John,
What a great weekend in local radio.
John, you know what, John?
What's that, Brad?
I love you, guy. I
I
love
love
dude.
you too, Brad.
John, we have to go. Say goodbye.
See you tomorrow.